I am honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation to be part of this. And I call it brain health instead of cognitive health. And I've been doing research as a professor and the head of the Center for Brain Health for the last 3 decades. And really studying the brain at all levels of health, from neural systems to cognitive to psychological well-being to social adaptness, as well as the real life complexity of what people tackle. And so now we are really transitioning. How can we take the science of what we're doing to help people wherever they are, and can telehealth transform it? And I love that I'm following Dr. Slater, Mel, because we also do a lot of virtual reality and have worked with Skip Rizzo in a number of different studies. So, oops, okay, just a minute. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, okay, cool. So I have nothing to disclose. This is what I'm going to talk about today, is how we're approaching brain health. And you can see that I put it as one word because we actually have a trademark on it, because people typically only study the brain after something goes wrong. And I'm going to tell you how from the scientists, 150 scientists that are working with us at the University of Texas at Dallas, are approaching it in a whole different way. I'm going to share with you the longest, most comprehensive project that we're just beginning to launch, the pilot results that we're calling the Brain Health Project. Talk to you a little bit about the collaborators, but also the reason I was interested in this, and I think it would be really amazing for us to find ways to partner with other countries as we move forward, which we are already doing. So that's why I wanted to accept this invitation from Misha Lebedev. And then I'm going to give you some preliminary results. So as all of you know, and you've been hearing, I love the thing on optogenetics. This is from Ed Boyden, who is one of the leaders in optogenetics. But we know that the brain is the most complex design in the known universe. As we study the different cortical, the connectivity, all of the different brain blood flow, down to the cellular level of neurosynapses, the neurotransmitters. Much of what we've done as we study the brain has looked more from molecular to mind. And what we're taking is to meet people in the middle. So people that have gone from, if we understand it at the molecular level, and then try to understand what's happening at a higher order cognitive level and social agility, what can we do if we understand mind to molecule? So as we change the mind, how does it impact the brain at all levels of connectivity, brain blood flow, as well as neurotransmitters? So these are my key messages that we're going to talk about today. How are we defining and measuring brain health? Really holistically, because to date, mostly when people are trying to understand the brain, they study it in various silos of either psychological health or social problems that people have, or the neural systems, or diagnosing disease. And we're looking at it from a holistic perspective, and we're looking at it from health. Although we all know, and everyone on this call knows, that our brain is the most valuable asset and resource, it's the only organ that we only look at and tend to till something goes wrong, unless we are studying just how the brain works. The second thing that we're doing is we're challenging the status quo. Right now, most people think your IQ is fixed, that your brain is pretty much set by the time you're through your teenage years, maybe through 20. We now know the science is unassailable, that individuals can change their brain throughout life. How they use it is very dramatic in terms of how it impacts it. And our brain grows stronger by how we use it moment to moment. It doesn't take years to change it, but we can see brain changes in real time, or it diminishes by how we fail to use it and can actually degrade the different neural systems that we have. And we're going to talk about future-proofing our brain. People are now saying, and we have article coming out in molecular psychiatry about how we're moving into a brain economy. So it's really important now to focus on what is it that we can do to keep our greatest asset moving forward as we move to this. I wanted just to share a little bit. I'm a professor at the University of Texas at Dallas. The Center for Brain Health has a campus of 3 major entities. The center itself, which is all focused on research with 125 scientists, research clinicians. This building is our Brain Performance Institute, where we're training teachers and educators and business and government leaders. What is it that you can do to make your brain years, the best brain years ahead of you? And we also have a brain imaging center where we've got 2 state-of-the-art Siemens scanners where we're looking uniquely at markers of the brain getting better. And now we're launching the Brain Health Project. So how are we defining brain health in a whole new way as a category breaker? And the reason I say category breaker is because that's really what we're doing. We're bringing a whole new field of discovery, a field of where students can learn for really healthcare as we look at this. Right now, when people want to know about their brain, if something's wrong, they go to their doctor, and it tends to be general practitioner. It could be a neurologist to see, I think something's going wrong with my brain, and you see, what is it? Do you have ADHD? Do you have some type of psychiatric disease? Do you have Alzheimer's disease? What we want people to do is to think ahead of time, what are things that you can do right now, regardless of what age you are, to build resilience and build reserve, to build cognitive capacity? So we actually we take the lifespan, and we have over 50 funded research studies that we've looked. Can people expand their brain at all levels of health before anything happens? And then, of course, if something happens, then we're interested in, can you rebound? Can you restore cognitive function? And we're looking at neural systems, psychological health, and cognitive systems. So we are category breakers because we're trying to move the brain into health, just like we've done for heart health, our teeth health. I often say we focus more on our teeth than we do our brain, even though it's our greatest asset. So if you were to ask me, what's my manifesto of our scientists and different collaborators, it's how can we unlock human potential through improved brain health and performance across the lifespan. So I want to share a video with you. We'll see if it plays. Can you hear this?
What is the first thing that pops into your mind when you hear the term brain health? Do you think of your IQ? Do you worry about Alzheimer's? So, from this moment on, when you hear the term brain health, let's define it as making the most of the brain's capacity to thrive in life. This means that we have multiple paths to strengthen our brain health. Let's start with your brain systems and how they work together to support your thinking, learning, decision-making, and emotions, really all the mental activities you tackle. Next, we have sleep and stress. The level of each is foundational to your brain's health and ability to perform. Now we get to cognition. This is how you think, learn, and set goals. It includes both complex thinking and specific thinking capacities that are required to take in information, process it, come back to it later, and combine it in different ways to create something completely new. Daily life looks at the complexity of your daily responsibilities and key lifestyle factors that impact your health. Well-being taps into your quality of life and emotional sense of yourself. And lastly, interaction refers to your social support, level of engagement, and compassion toward others. All these components are connected. Together, they provide a snapshot of your brain's health and performance. This snapshot, which you get with the Brain Health Index, empowers you to take greater charge of your brain, increasing and extending its health and peak performance. From one time point to the next, the Brain Health Index can help you gauge how much improvement you achieve. Start your brain health journey today and see how far you can go.
All right.
So that's how we're challenging the that we're category breakers to define it in health and holistically looking at it from all these components. So now we're challenging the status quo to see how far, how fit people can take their brain and to see if we can achieve for brain health what's been done for heart health, where people around the globe every single day know the things they need to do to keep their heart healthy. I wanted to share with you, I've talked to you about the Center for Brain Health, the Brain Performance Institute, the Brain Health Imaging Center. Now we're launching the Brain Health Project. And I wanted to share with you, most of you probably know many of these scientists that are part of our collaboration. We have gotten the world's leaders to say, yes, we want to be part of this and lead in this. If you know Ian Robertson at Dublin, he started neuroscience there. Mark Desposito at Berkeley has said, this is what we as neurologists were meant to do, is to keep the brain healthy. Vince Calhoun was head of the whole human brain mapping internationally. And of course, people know Mike Merzenich, who's sort of the godfather of brain plasticity. All these people are part of what we're doing. They're giving us their IP to see how far, how fast we can build the human brain. What I'm going to share with you is a pilot that we're doing. When COVID hit, we were just getting ready to start with this platform we've been developing for 2 years, where I talked to you about that comprehensive brain health index. We weren't able to do the brain imaging, but we wanted to test out the platform. So a 3-month period where people do the brain health index. They get a coach session to say, these are your goals. What does this number mean? And then we give them some training modules of different cognitive training, stress modules, sleep, that are based on some of the work that our scientists have shown change the brain at all levels of health as well as psychological health. They also get another coaching session, and then they do their post-assessment. So these are the questions that we're asking, and we had 175 people. We had literally 10 days because it was a very quick shutdown. And so we opened it up and people enrolled. We wanted to get 100. We had to stop at 175 because that was the capacity because of the coaching that we had. But we wanted to say, in this time period that we've shown work, do people show a gain in their online brain health index? And can they understand what this holistic measure could mean that we could explain? And what did we find in terms of group results? And then how is it going to guide us into precision brain health? Because it's really more about you as an individual, not your group results against someone else. We were also interested, number 2, in the effects of age, gender, education, and whether the amount of training that someone utilized was what impacted the gains. And then the relationship of changes, improvement in one area, how did we see generalization to other areas? So this, again, is what the Brain Health Index is. People get this number, and it's like, what does that mean? It's not like 73%. It is you against you. It's not you against the rest of the world or against people that are doing the same profession. We want people to get out of competing and just be with themselves. These are the different components that makes it up, as we talked about: cognition, daily life, psychological well-being, the mindset, responsibilities, as well as social agility and adaptness. So these are the preliminary results of our work. So first of all, what we wanted to ask is, the Brain Health Index, is there an age difference when we look at it? Because as you know, almost every measure when we're looking at brain, we have to adjust for age because we really accept aging as almost this acceptable decline. But what we're looking at are measures that don't have a ceiling effect or upward potential. And what you can see here is, this is the Brain Health Index. We found that there was not age effects, and we had people enroll from ages 18 to 87. We wanted to test, does the platform, can people of all ages work to understand how they can gain information from it? When we looked at gender differences, again, we did not find a difference between male and female in terms of what they were doing. And then we did have a highly educated group. Most people had a bachelor's, although some people did not because we started at college age, but we did not find an education effect. Now, this is looking at, did we see a change when we measured their brain health index after they engaged in the training? And this is the same period of time in our 20 randomized trials of training in person that we've shown brain change at all levels, increased brain connectivity, brain blood flow, as well as higher order reasoning, improvement in psychological well-being, as well as social adaptness. We wanted to see, does this platform help individuals at the same level? And what this is showing is the change score in the brain health index. And what you can see from here is 75% or more of our group increased very significantly, and on average 10 points. Well, that's pretty dramatic. As I mentioned to you at the outset, this was a time when COVID hit. So think about the stress that many of these individuals that were just starting to engage in. We also wanted to know, did the change, because a lot of people think, excuse me, that maybe young people can improve more, or maybe older people have more to gain because they've lost more, and we really didn't find any age. So this is across the age span that we got, and it looks, there's a lot of scatter. Obviously, we had more people that were in the 40s and 50s, but we had a really good distribution of age, and these are gender. We did not see either a gender effect in terms of how much change, so men or women didn't get better, nor did we see a difference in age. So that was probably one of the most surprising things, because I thought maybe older people like myself wouldn't take to this technology platform or to show gains, or that younger people wouldn't see the benefit, but we saw the change. The third big question that we asked is, does it matter how much training you do to see how much gains? And what you see along the x-axis down here is the different training modules that they had. And about right here is where they got a coaching session after their brain health index. They had another real live Zoom coaching session, and then another one at the end. And what you can see, this is the strategy training that we did with cognitive strategies. How do you become a innovative thinker, big idea, algorithmic thinker, as well as manage stress through teaching strategies. And then we gave them information, just straightforward information about sleep. And you can see that there was a pretty good rise in terms of the more utilization individuals did, the better they got up to a certain point. And the difference between this to this point was really just that it was giving them information about sleep hygiene. Dr. Russell Foster is one of our collaborators from Oxford. This tells us that practice effects, it didn't matter, just taking the brain health index. So people always say, well, maybe it's just that they took it 2 times, but we didn't see practice effects. And we didn't see necessarily that those more motivated were the ones that gained. Just to remind you, when we look at this index, it is a holistic area. It's not just looking at single measures like we typically think about brain, but we saw changes in terms of how they all aggregate together. And if you were to ask me, what was the aspect of the research, this first pilot? We enrolled almost to 200 people, but our goal is to enroll 120,000 people and follow them for a minimum of 10 years. So this is just for us to learn how the platform works. This here is what I'm most excited about, and that is, are we able to look at changes in one domain and see how it generalizes over to other domains? Because as we know, it's one thing to not be depressed, but if you still aren't socially isolated or lonely, you're not going to make it in life. Or if you really are a very smart person, but you're depressed and in bed all day, you're not going to improve. So we're interested in how the different areas, so we looked at the change in the cognitive domain and how they mapped onto changes in these other domains. What you can see here is that we saw a generalized impact, that when we see individuals improve in one, we typically see a generalized impact in the others. So this is, if you were to think about, here's cognition improving in innovative thinking, big idea. How many possibility interpretations can you come up with? We're very interested in flexibility of thinking, as well as people that have much more strategic thinking and they know what to focus on or not. So it's very different from the traditional neurocognitive testing that we tend to do. And what you can see here is that as a profile, people got better in their overall daily life, their fitness, their activities, their outlook. Sleep going down, that actually is good. That means they had less sleep complaints. Social agility and social compassion, happiness improved, as well as the other areas. So this is really what I'm most interested in as we look at brain health. What is it that makes you holistically more functional, regardless of where you start? And I just want to share with you some real quick individual cases, because people always like, yeah, that sounds good, but what about me? So I'm just going to highlight a couple of cases in the last few minutes of this presentation so you can get an idea of what we were finding. This gentleman was 61. He had retired and moved out of to a new location. And he said, I'm really happy with my brain. I don't need any help. So we're interested again in building reserve and resilience and people to embrace how far, how fast, how fit can you make your brain? And his brain health index was 57. And he says, well, I don't know what that means, but I feel like I'm pretty good. This is how it breaks down. And we do a lot of educating in terms of what the different parameters are. He set goals after he got his brain health index. And he said, when he got his post 3 months later, after 12 weeks, you can see a very significant gain. One of the biggest areas was in cognition, and it really was this innovative thinking. He saw different ways that he could think more adept, that he'd gotten into rote thinking. Even at 61, he was not really kind of pushing new frontiers. This was the thing that surprised him the most. He said, I've always defined myself as an introvert, someone that I don't need to social relationships. But with COVID, I realized I really did want meaningful relationships. And the training helped me to realize that I need to reach out to people more. So we saw a big jump in his social engagement and what he was doing. And so then, of course, when you have more meaningful relationships, his well-being improved as well. This is a college student. We're now enrolling 100 college students. I'm really particularly worried about college students during this time of COVID because the whole college experience is different. The social, engagement that they're used to. And we know that stress, depression, suicide is at an all-time high. This was a very bright student. UT Dallas has one of the largest number of national merit scholars in the state. She's smart. She said, I always pride myself. She got a 48. She said, that's good. She had to move home, which was out of state. It wasn't here. And her post-testing was a 69, and she improved. What she said that really stunned her again is this social interaction. While we worked on her cognition and helped her with stress management, she said, my mom has always told me I never was sensitive to others. And she said she noticed a change and she didn't know where it came from. And she said, if I were to say what impacted me the most, it's realizing how I can be more tuned into empathy and how my cognition drives that empathy as well as well-being, because she was feeling a lot of stress, overwhelmed, and really not able to start her day. So we're now, over the next, within this, we've started enrolling 100 right now to see how we can impact them at this pivotal time. Now, of course, you're asking, and I know I just have a few more minutes, did everyone improve? And they didn't. This was an individual who was in her young 70s, and she lost ground. She actually developed COVID during the course at the time and was just coming out of COVID at the time that she took this. And she's like, I feel like I shouldn't take it. I can tell I'm not as good as I used to be. And we're like, no, you need to take it, because we want people to see if they can regain capacity. Remember, after, they're through with the medical, then we want them to go back and say, I want to be as good as I was before or better. So she was able, while she did lose ground, she said, how soon can I take it again? She's doing the next round of training. So she's all gung-ho to try to rebound. She actually had done 2 brain health indexes prior to this time in person over the last 3 years. And what we were excited about was her index was pretty much the same with this online platform as it had been before. I just wanted to close with this slide because I think worldwide never has something brought us so close together that we're all dealing with the stress. And it's not just if you have it, it's affecting our capacity to move forward, the jobs that we have. And if you'll look at our website, you will see some different seminars that we're talking about why this is a brain economy and how we need to really build as much resilience across the lifespan, across our countries, work together to solve the complexities of what we're here about. This is really our vision, is to empower people everywhere to futurize their fullest potential. And, just hearing some of the talks and the science that's going on through Russia and some of the other countries, we would love to be thinking about ways to partner and be stretched in ways that we haven't even imagined, because we are really strong about collaboration. If you want more information to follow the Brain Health Project, you can just sign up here to get regular updates at www.thebrainhealthproject.org. Or you can learn information about the center's programs here. So thank you so much for your attention,